The sun rose slowly over the quiet town of Brookside, a small coastal village tucked along the eastern edge of the United States. The morning air was cool and smelled like salt and seaweed. Seagulls cried overhead, diving toward the waves in search of breakfast. Down at the docks, fishermen were already hard at work pulling up nets filled with fish, crabs, and other sea life. Among them was Liam Carter, a man in his late 50s with weathered hands and a face that had seen many storms. He had spent most of his life fishing these waters and knew every current, tide, and trick the ocean had to offer. Beside him stood his daughter Megan, who ran a small seafood restaurant just down the road. She helped out whenever she could, always keeping an eye out for fresh catches to use in her kitchen. This morning, though, something felt different. Out in the distance, just beyond the horizon, something large appeared in the sky. At first, it looked like a storm cloud, dark, low-hanging, and silent, but it didn't move like a cloud. It hovered. Then it came closer. The people on the dock stopped what they were doing. Boats slowed. Gulls flew away in silence. Everyone stared. The object was not a plane or a helicopter. It was shaped like a smooth black oval, with no wings, no engines, and no visible lights. It floated above the water like it was waiting for something. Liam squinted up at it. "What the hell is that?" Megan didn't answer. She just watched, eyes wide. A few minutes later, someone called the local police. Others took videos on their phones. Within the hour, everyone in town knew about the strange thing floating above the ocean. No one knew where it came from. No one knew what it wanted, but one thing was clear: it wasn't leaving. By noon, more people had gathered near the shore. Some brought binoculars, others brought cameras. A group of teenagers filmed themselves pretending to greet aliens. "Hey, visitors," one shouted. "We have Wi-Fi." Laughter spread through the crowd, but even they couldn't hide the nervous energy in the air. Liam stayed quiet. He kept watching the floating object, trying to make sense of it. Megan stood beside him, arms crossed. "It's been there for hours," she said. "It hasn't moved." "No," Liam agreed. "And it doesn't look broken. Feels like it's watching us." They weren't wrong. From inside the ship, sensors scanned the coastline. Lights blinked softly as data was collected. The crew, inside, tall, thin beings with pale skin and glowing eyes, watched the humans below with curiosity and concern. One of them, a being named Vexar, turned to another. "They do not fear us," he said. "No," replied his companion Kayla. "They do not understand us." Vexar studied the humans again. They wore simple clothes, walked barefoot on the sand, and pointed at the ship with wonder instead of fear. "This species is primitive," Kayla said. "Their weapons are crude. Their technology is limited. And yet," Vexar said, "they are bold. They stand and stare at us like we are nothing more than a passing storm." Kayla frowned. "Shall we make contact?" Vexar did not answer. Right away. Instead, he turned back to the screen showing the humans below. One of them, a woman, was now walking toward the water's edge with a phone in hand, still filming. He shook his head. "Not yet." Then the screen flickered. Something else had appeared in the water. Back on the shore, Megan saw it before anyone else. A ripple in the ocean, far out from the dock. Then another, and another. Then the water began to boil. Everyone stepped back. Even the teenagers stopped recording. A dark shape rose beneath the surface. It was massive, longer than a city bus, sleek and covered in glowing lines that pulsed like veins under its skin. It broke the surface with a roar so loud it echoed across the bay. People screamed. Some ran. Others stood frozen in awe. The creature climbed into the air, revealing itself, fully for the first time. It had 6 fins, a long tail, and rows of teeth that gleamed in the sunlight. Its eyes glowed red like burning coals, and it was angry. The alien ship reacted instantly. Lights flashed, alarm sounded. The ship tilted slightly, preparing to flee, but the creature was faster. With a powerful twist of its body, it launched itself, upward, slamming into the side of the ship with a thunderous crash. Metal groaned. Sparks flew. The ship spun wildly, trying to escape. The beast chased it, striking again and again, tearing into the hull with claws and teeth. For a moment, the two titanic forces battled in midair, alien machine versus ancient monster. Then, with one final blow, the creature sent the ship crashing into the ocean. A huge wave rolled onto the shore, soaking the crowd. Silence followed. Everyone stared at the place where both the ship and the beast had vanished. Then, after a long pause, Megan whispered, "What the hell just happened?" Hours passed. Boats searched the area but found nothing. No sign of the ship. No sign of the creature. Just oil slicks and bits of metal floating in the water. Liam and Megan stood by the dock, watching the sunset paint the sky in orange and pink. "I don't think that thing was friendly," Megan said. "Neither was the ship," Liam replied. They were quiet for a while, then Megan asked, "Do you think it's dead?" Liam shrugged. "Maybe. Maybe not. That thing looked tough." They went home that night, tired and confused. But neither of them could sleep. The next morning, the tide brought something new to the beach. At first, it looked like a pile of seaweed, or maybe driftwood. But when Liam got close, he realized it was something else entirely. It was the creature. Its body lay half buried in the sand, bloated and lifeless. Its glowing patterns had faded. Its eyes were closed. One of its fins was torn, clean off. Liam stood over it, stunned. Behind him, Megan arrived with a flashlight and a camera. She gasped. "Is that—" "Yeah," Liam said. "Looks like it didn't survive the fight." Megan crouched beside the creature. "It's huge." "Biggest damn thing I've ever seen," Liam muttered. A few other townspeople showed up too, drawn by rumors. Soon the whole town was buzzing. Some thought it was a miracle. Others said it was a warning. But one thing was certain. The creature was dead. And it was food. By noon, people had started cutting into the body. Fishermen used knives and ropes. Hunters used axes. Meat was carved and packed into coolers. Liam watched as chunks of muscle and flesh were hauled away. "They're not wasting any time," he said. Megan sniffed a piece of raw meat. "Smells normal." "You gonna cook it?" Liam asked. "Why not?" she said with a grin. "Could be the meal of a lifetime." Later that evening, Megan prepared the first dish. She grilled a thick steak-like cut over open flame, adding salt and pepper. The smell filled the kitchen. When she tried it, her eyes widened. "It's good," she said, chewing. "Tastes like swordfish, but richer." Liam took a bite too. He nodded. "Not bad. Could use some garlic." Within hours, the rest of the town was cooking too. Families roasted it. Restaurants fried it. Kids ate it on sandwiches, and everyone agreed it was delicious. As the sun set, Liam sat on his porch with a plate of grilled Zalthor, as Megan had jokingly named it. He looked out at the ocean. "Never thought I'd be eating space monsters," he said. Megan laughed. "You never know what tomorrow brings." Far out in the deep ocean, something stirred. Not far beneath the surface, another pair of red eyes opened, and then closed again, waiting, watching, ready. The morning after the creature washed ashore, Brookside was buzzing like never before. People were up early, walking around with coolers, knives, and cutting boards. Smoke rose from backyards and porches as families grilled, fried, and smoked pieces of the strange alien meat. It tasted good, better than most expected. Some said it was like a mix between tuna and steak. Others compared it to lobster or crab. A few even claimed it had a sweet aftertaste, almost like honey. Megan's restaurant, The Salty Catch, opened early that day. She had spent the night preparing dishes and setting up signs. Today only, Zalthor steaks. Limited supply. First come, first served. Try the meat that beat an alien ship. By 10 o'clock, there was a line stretching down the street. Liam sat at the bar, sipping coffee and watching the crowd. He shook his head. "Didn't think we'd be famous for feeding people space monster meat." Megan laughed as she flipped another thick cut on the grill. "Well, looks like we are now." Outside, tourists arrived in cars and vans. Reporters stood with cameras and microphones, interviewing locals about the creature. "Did you see it when it came out of the water?" one asked. "Nope," replied a man in a fishing hat. "But I sure ate some last night. Tastes like chicken, if chicken could punch through steel." Laughter followed. Back inside the restaurant, Megan handed a plate to a young woman holding a phone. "This is live, right?" the woman asked. "Yep," Megan said. "Tell your followers it's delicious." The woman took a bite, chewed thoughtfully, then grinned. "This is the best thing I've ever eaten, like butter and thunder." Her video went viral within the hour. Far away, deep in space aboard a Zalari scout vessel, a junior officer named Rinnick scrolled through Earth broadcasts. He paused on a video titled, "First Bite of Space Monster Meat, You Won't Believe." "This taste," he clicked it. A human woman took a bite of grilled meat and grinned at the camera. "I would eat this every day if I could." Rinnick frowned. Then he saw another video, and another. One showed a family roasting large slabs over a fire pit. Another showed a local news segment where a reporter tried the meat and joked about starting an alien meat delivery service. Rinnick stopped scrolling. He stared at the screen. Then he called his superior. Within minutes, high-ranking Zalari officials gathered in the command chamber. On the main display was footage of humans slicing into the body of a Zalthor, a species feared across the galaxy. Warriors avoided them. Hunters respected them. Entire fleets had been destroyed by a single adult specimen. And now they were being turned into steaks. Silence filled the room. Finally, Commander Vela spoke. "Are these humans serious?" "They appear to be," Rinnick said. "They have no idea what they've killed." Vela turned to her officers. "We must send an alert. Immediately." Another officer stepped forward. "Should we warn other systems? Restrict travel near this planet?" Vela nodded. "Yes, and prepare a full report for the High Council. We may have underestimated humanity." She looked back at the screen. Humans were laughing, cooking, and eating. To the Zalari, it was terrifying. Back on Earth, the attention didn't stop. News outlets picked up the story. Food bloggers posted reviews. Scientists debated whether the meat was safe. Some governments issued warnings about consuming unknown alien life forms. Nobody listened. In Brookside, Megan's restaurant was packed all day. People came from neighboring towns, even other states. Lines wrapped around the block. Locals started selling cuts out of their trucks. One man set up a stand offering Xalthor jerky. Another sold frozen steaks in vacuum-sealed bags labeled Space Beast. Handle. With hunger, Liam helped where he could, handing out samples and telling stories about the fight between the creature and the alien ship. "I watched it come out of the ocean," he told a group of kids. "Looked like something out of a movie." One boy whispered. "Was it scary?" Liam smiled. "Yeah, but not as scary as my ex-wife with a hangover." Everyone laughed. As the sun began to set, Megan finally got a moment to sit. She checked her phone. Her videos had hundreds of thousands of views. News sites were asking for interviews. She read a headline aloud. "Brookside becomes galactic culinary hotspot after feasting on alien predator." She chuckled. "Can't say I saw that coming." Liam leaned back in his chair. "You know, this might not last forever." "I know," Megan said. "But while it does, we might as well enjoy it." Just then, someone knocked on the door. It was a man in a dark suit. "Ms. Carter?" he asked. Megan raised an eyebrow. "That's me." The man held up a badge. "Federal agent, we need to talk." At the same time, on the Zalari capital world, the High Council met in secret. Dozens of leaders sat in a circular chamber made of smooth black stone. Lights flickered above them as holograms played footage of Earth. A Zalari elder named Corin studied the images. "Humanity has done what no other species dared," he said. "They have slain a Zalthor and feasted upon its remains." A younger council member asked, "What does this mean for us?" Corin did not answer right away. Instead, he turned to a military commander. "Have any other species reacted?" "Yes," the commander replied. "Some see this as strength, Others call it blasphemy. Corin nodded. Then we must act carefully. He looked back at the footage. Humans were smiling, laughing, eating. We cannot allow them to grow reckless, Corin said. If they begin hunting more of the beasts. He trailed off. No one needed him to finish. The consequences could be deadly for everyone. Send word to our scouts, Corin ordered. We must learn more about these humans, and fast. The meeting ended. But the galaxy had already changed, because somewhere far away, on a tiny blue planet, two simple people had just started serving alien meat at a small seaside restaurant, and the universe had taken notice. The sun rose over Washington, D.C., casting long shadows across the White House lawn. Birds chirped in the trees, and early morning joggers ran past the tall iron gates. Everything seemed normal, but inside the West Wing, things were anything but. In a closed-door meeting room, high-ranking officials sat around a large wooden table. Maps, reports, and live news feeds covered every wall. On one screen, footage played again and again, people eating Zalthor meat, Megan's restaurant packed, with customers and videos of families roasting alien flesh in their backyards. A man in a military uniform leaned forward. "Sir, this has gone beyond a local incident. We've had calls from other countries asking if we're exporting the meat." Another official frowned. "We can't export something we don't fully understand." Across the city, at a secret lab near Langley, scientists studied samples taken from the creature. In one room, a team worked late into the night, slicing thin sections of muscle under microscopes. In another, researchers tested the chemical makeup of the meat to see how it affected human biology. One scientist looked up from his notes. "It's safe to eat. No toxins. No known allergens. It's like beef from space." They weren't the only ones paying attention. Far above Earth, in orbit hidden by advanced cloaking tech, an alien ship hovered silently. Inside, a council of Zalari diplomats debated. "We must make contact," said Vela, the lead ambassador, "before they do something reckless." Her aide, Rinnik, nodded. "Agreed. But we must be careful. They clearly have no idea what they've killed." Vela looked at the footage again. "No, and worse, they think it tastes good." She stood. "Prepare for descent. We go to Earth." 2 days later, the world watched in awe as a massive alien ship appeared in the sky over Washington, D.C. Unlike the mysterious black oval that had been attacked by the Zalthor, this new vessel was sleek and silver, shaped like a teardrop. It hovered silently, not attacking or threatening, just waiting. News helicopters circled the ship. Millions watched online. Social media exploded. "Aliens are here. They want peace." "Are they here about the monster meat?" Governments scrambled. Emergency meetings were held. Scientists rushed to prepare for first contact. And finally, after hours of silence, the ship opened. A platform lowered from its belly, glowing softly. A group of tall, pale beings stepped out. Their skin shimmered slightly in the sunlight, and their eyes glowed with soft blue light. The Zalari had arrived. At the White House, the president met with the aliens in the Situation Room. Vela led the delegation. She spoke slowly, carefully choosing her words. "We come in peace," she said. "We wish to speak with your leaders about the recent events involving the Zalthor." The president nodded. "We know. You're here because of the creature." Vela's eyes narrowed slightly. "You know what it is?" "We've named it," he replied, "and we've eaten it." Silence filled the room. Then Vela said, "You consumed the remains of a sacred predator." The president shrugged. "It tasted good." Behind him, a general cleared his throat nervously. Vela's expression darkened. "That creature was feared across our galaxy. Entire fleets have been destroyed by its kind." A reporter outside the building shouted into a microphone. "Sources say the aliens are upset because humans ate the space monster." Inside, the Wisiu conversation took a turn. "We need to talk about the consequences," Vela said. If more of these creatures exist, and your people begin hunting them. A phone buzzed on the table. An aide picked it up, read the message, and turned pale. He whispered something to the defense secretary. Everyone turned to listen. Finally, the defense secretary cleared his throat. "Sir, there's something you should know." "What?" the president asked. The aide hesitated. "A video just leaked." "What kind of video?" "It's from our lab." He tapped a button on his tablet. On the screen, a government researcher sliced into a piece of preserved Zalthor tissue. "This is sample B7, he said. "We're running tests to see if we can clone it." A second voice spoke off camera. "If we can breed them, we could control the supply, the money." Camera zoomed in on a tank holding small developing embryos. Back in the room, Vela's face went cold. "You plan to farm them?" The president didn't answer right away. Finally, he said, "We're looking into all options." Vela stood up slowly. "This is unacceptable." The president raised a hand. "We're not declaring war. We're just trying to understand what we've got." Vela shook her head. "You do not understand what you've done. That creature was not just a beast, it was a symbol. A warning." She turned to her aides. "We are leaving." The president tried to stop her. "Ambassador, please, let's talk this through." But Vela was already walking out. As she passed the reporters outside, someone shouted, "Ambassador, will you try the meat?" She stopped, looked straight into the camera. "No," she said. "I would rather starve." Then she climbed back onto the ship. Minutes later, it vanished into the sky. Back in Brookside, Megan watched the news on her restaurants. TV Liam walked in holding 2 plates of grilled Zalthor. He set one down in front of her. "Looks like we offended them." Megan took a bite. "Tastes fine to me." Liam chuckled. "Guess some folks don't like being called barbarians." Megan smirked. "Well, we did eat their sacred monster." Outside, the town buzzed with excitement. Tourists still came. Lines still formed. Life went on, but elsewhere the ripple spread. Other alien species saw the footage. Some were curious. Others were furious. On a distant mining station, a group of bounty hunters watched the video of the Zalthor carcass. One of them grinned. "That thing's worth a fortune." Another cracked his knuckles. "Let's find more." On a research ship, a scientist recorded a log entry. "Humanity has proven capable of defeating and consuming a Zalthor. This makes them either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid." And on the Zalari capital world, the High Council gathered once. Morcorin, the elder who had spoken before, stood at the center. "The humans have shown us 2 things, he said. First, they are dangerous. Second, they do not fear us." A younger leader asked, "What should we do?" Corin looked at the image of Earth on the screen. "We watch," he said, "for now." Then he added quietly, "And we hope they don't kill something they can't control." By the time the sun set in Washington, D.C., the alien ship was gone. But the story wasn't over, because somewhere far out in space, deep in the ocean, or maybe even beneath the earth, something else was, watching something ancient, something hungry, and it knew what the humans had done. Far out in space, past the edge of known systems, a group of insectoid traders sat around a glowing table made of crystal and steel. They were Virex, 6-limbed beings with chitinous armor and sharp mandibles that clicked when they spoke. One of them, named Crix, tapped a claw against the table. "The humans have done it." Another looked up from a datapad. "Eaten the Zalthor?" Crix nodded. "And not just once. Many times, in public, with joy." A third Virex tilted its head. "They are either very brave or very foolish." Across the room, their leader, Warlord Zektan, leaned forward. His eyes glowed red like hot coals. "They killed one of the galaxy's most feared predators," he said slowly. "And now they eat its flesh without fear." He looked at his officers. "I say we respect them." Silence followed. Then another voice spoke. "Respect? They have no idea what they've done." Zektan stood. "That is why we must watch them closely." If they can kill a Zalthor, what else can they do? Outside, ships hovered in orbit, above their homeworld. Some were warships. Others were merchant vessels filled with stolen goods and alien tech. But now, all eyes turned to Earth. Back on the blue planet, things were heating up. In Washington, D.C., government officials scrambled to deal with the fallout from the failed first contact. The president held a press conference. Cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions. Will we be making more contact with aliens? Are we in danger? What happens if more of those creatures show up? The president answered calmly. We don't know yet, but we're ready. Behind him, military leaders exchanged worried looks. Later that night, in a secret underground lab near Colorado Springs, scientists worked late. Inside a large glass chamber, small figures floated in green liquid. They had tails, claws, red eyes. Zalthor, embryos. A researcher typed notes into a tablet. Cloning process successful. Growth rate faster than expected. Behavior patterns unknown. A general stood nearby, arms crossed. We need to know how smart these things are. Another scientist shrugged. If they're anything like sharks or bears, they'll be dangerous enough. The general nodded. Then we'd better be ready. Meanwhile, in Brookside, Megan's restaurant was still packed. She stood behind the counter, flipping steaks on a sizzling grill. The smell filled the air. Liam sat at the bar, talking to a few locals. You ever think we'd be famous for this? One asked. Liam shook his head. Nope. Thought I'd retire quietly. Fishin', maybe open a bait shop. Megan laughed. Well, you opened a meat shop instead. Just then, a man in a suit walked in. He looked around, then approached Liam. Mr. Carter? He asked. Liam raised an eyebrow. Yeah? I'm Agent Halberd. We met the other day. Liam remembered him, the Fed who had asked about the creature. Halberd pulled out a folder. We need your help. For what? We're setting up a civilian defense unit. People who know the area, who understand the ocean. Liam frowned. You think something's coming back? Halberd didn't answer right away. Finally, he said, We think someone might try to take what's left of the Zalthor. Megan stepped over. What do you mean, take? Halberd lowered his voice. There's been chatter, bounties, mercenaries. Some people want that creature, alive or dead. Liam and Megan exchanged a look. So what do you want us to do? Liam asked. Halberd smiled slightly. Help us keep it safe. Out in Texas, trouble was brewing. A group of bounty hunters had landed in a remote field outside Austin. Their ship, a battered, blacked-out vessel covered in dents and plasma burn marks, had slipped through Earth's radar thanks to stolen cloaking tech. The crew stepped out into the dry heat. First was Relak, a hulking brute of a man with cybernetic eyes and scars across his face. Beside him, his partner Jexa adjusted her visor. This place smells like cows and sweat. Relak grinned. Good. Means nobody expects us. They weren't alone. 3 others joined them, each armed with weapons far beyond human tech. Jexa checked a device on her wrist. Signal's weak, but it's here. One of the creatures. Relak cracked his knuckles. Let's go hunting. Back in Washington, the defense secretary called a meeting. Around the table sat generals, scientists, and intelligence agents. The aliens aren't the only ones watching us, one agent said. Mercenaries, bounty hunters, rogue scientists. The secretary frowned. How bad is it? Another agent handed him a file. We've intercepted communications. There are at least 3 groups planning to come to Earth. Why? The secretary asked. To find more of the Zalthor, the agent replied. Or to steal samples. The secretary sighed. Great, so now we've got space pirates after our monster meat. Everyone nodded grimly. One general stood. We need to prepare. The secretary looked at him. For what? For war, the general said simply. In Brookside, Megan and Liam drove toward the research facility where the last piece of Zalthor tissue was being kept. It was hidden in a secure lab on the outskirts of town, surrounded by fences and cameras. As they arrived, a guard waved them through. Inside, scientists moved quickly between labs. Computers beeped. Lights blinked. A tall woman in a white coat greeted them. "Thanks for coming," she said. "We could use your help." Liam crossed his arms. "What kind of help?" She led them into a room filled with screens. On them were satellite images, maps and live feeds from around the country. "There's been movement," she said. "People sneaking in, trying to get close." Megan frowned. "Who?" "We don't know," the scientist admitted. "But we think some of them aren't, even from here." Liam looked at the screen showing a blurry figure moving through trees. He muttered, "This is getting real." Back in space, aboard a Zalari warship, Commander Vela watched Earth from the observation deck. Beside her, Reineck stood silently. Finally, he asked, "Do you think they'll survive this?" Vela didn't answer right away. Instead, she said, "They are strange, unpredictable, but they fight hard." She turned to him. "And they do not fear death." Reineck looked at her. "So what do we do?" Vela stared at the blue planet below. "We watch," she said, "and we hope they don't bring ruin upon themselves." On Earth, the storm was beginning. In Texas, the bounty hunters moved through the woods, closing in on their target. In Washington, soldiers prepared for possible attacks. In Brookside, Megan and Liam stood watch over the lab, guns loaded, eyes scanning the dark. Somewhere far away, deep in the ocean, something stirred. Red eyes opened, teeth gleamed under moonlight. And somewhere in the stars, more eyes watched. Waiting. Watching. Ready. The first attack came in Texas. Under the cover of darkness, the bounty hunters moved through the trees like ghosts. Relak led the group, his cybernetic eyes scanning for movement. Yexa followed close behind, her weapon humming softly in her hands. They were after one thing, a live Zalthor specimen, or at least something related to it. Their intel said there was a hidden research facility near Austin. Rumors said that humans had started cloning the creatures, trying to understand how they worked, how they hunted, and how they could be used. If true, that made Earth a gold mine. Jexa whispered into her comms, "We're almost there." Relak grunted. "Good. Let's make this quick." They reached the edge of the forest and saw the facility ahead. A low concrete building surrounded by fences and floodlights. Cameras turned slowly, scanning the perimeter. A small team of guards patrolled. Outside, armed with rifles, Jexa smirked. "Easy pickings." She raised her weapon and fired. A bright blue bolt shot out, striking one of the guards in the chest. He dropped without a sound. Chaos erupted, alarms blared, lights flashed. The other guards scrambled for cover. The bounty hunters charged. One guard managed to radio for help before being tackled to the ground. Another fired wildly into the dark, but his bullets did little against the alien tech shielding the attackers. Within minutes, the facility was breached. Inside, scientists ran in panic. Computers beeped warnings. Doors locked automatically, but not fast enough. Relak kicked open a lab door and stepped inside. On the table sat a glass case filled with glowing liquid. Inside floated a small creature, partially grown, still developing. A Zalthor embryo. He grinned. "Found it." Jexa looked around. "Let's get out before more show up." Just then, the lights flickered. A voice came over the speakers. "Attention. Facility lockdown in progress." A heavy metal door began to slide shut behind them. "Nope." Relak growled. He aimed his weapon and fired, blowing the control panel apart. The door froze halfway closed. "Move," Jexa shouted. They grabbed the case and ran. Outside, more guards arrived, this time in armored vehicles. They opened fire, bullets bouncing harmlessly off the bounty hunters' shields. Relak laughed as he jumped into their ship. "Earthlings fight hard, but they don't hit hard." The ship lifted off, disappearing into the night sky. Back in Washington, D.C., the news spread fast. A classified research site had been attacked, a sample stolen, no casualties, but the message was clear. Earth was now a target. At the White House, the president stood in the war room surrounded by generals and advisors. "We can't let this happen again," he said. A general nodded. "Agreed." We need to send a message. The president looked at the map of the United States on the screen. What do we do? Another advisor spoke up. We go public. Show the world what we're dealing with. The president thought for a moment, then nodded. Do it. That evening, the president addressed the nation. Millions watched online and on TV. He stood behind the podium, calm but serious. My fellow Americans, he began, we have entered a new era. For too long, we've looked to the stars with wonder. Now we must look with caution. He paused. A few days ago, an alien force attacked one of our facilities. They stole something we were studying, something dangerous. He took a breath. They took a piece of the Zalthor. Gasps echoed across the country. But the president wasn't done. These beings think they can take what they want from us. They think we are weak, but I say this. We are not afraid. He looked straight into the camera. We eat what we kill, and now we know what hunts us. Behind him, a video played, footage of the bounty hunters attacking the base. Then, clips of Megan's restaurant, of people cooking and eating the meat, of soldiers preparing for battle. The message was clear. Humanity was ready. In Brookside, Megan watched the speech with Liam. They sat on the porch of her restaurant, steaks cooling on the table. Megan smirked. Well, guess we're officially famous. Liam chuckled. More like infamous. Across town, more tourists arrived. Some came just to see the place where it all started. Others brought cameras, hoping to catch a glimpse of the next big thing. But not everyone came for food or sightseeing. Some came for war. Late that night, Megan got a call. It was Agent Halberd. We need you two, he said. For what? She asked. There's been another sighting, near the coast. Liam leaned in. Another bounty hunter? Halberd's voice was grim. Worse, this one didn't come alone. The next morning, a massive object appeared in the sky above the Atlantic Ocean. It was not a small scout ship, not a smuggler's vessel. It was a fleet. 5 ships hovered silently, waiting. They weren't Zalari. They weren't Virex. They were something else, and they were watching. On board the lead ship, a tall alien with dark skin and sharp features stood in the command center. His name was Korak, leader of the Thrin, a species known for their spiritual beliefs and deep respect for nature. He studied the images of Earth below. This planet has broken sacred law, he said coldly. They killed a Zalthor, they ate its flesh, and now they breed it. Beside him, his second-in-command nodded. Should we strike? Korak shook his head. Not yet. He looked at the footage of Megan's restaurant again. The humans do not understand what they've done, he said, but they are bold. Perhaps they are even worthy. He turned to his crew. Prepare to make contact, but be ready for anything. Meanwhile, back in Brookside, Megan and Liam joined. A civilian defense unit formed to protect the coastline. They weren't soldiers, but they knew these waters better than anyone. As they drove toward the docks, Megan glanced at the sky. You ever think we'd be defending Earth with fishing nets and shotguns? She asked. Liam smirked. Only if someone tried to steal my crab traps. They met up with a small group of locals, former military, hunters, and even a few retired cops. Agent Halberd greeted them. Thanks for coming. Liam crossed his arms. You think they'll attack? Halberd shrugged. Don't. No. But we're not taking chances. They set up watch points along the shore. Boats were loaded with supplies, weapons checked, communications tested. Then, the sky changed. A single ship descended from the fleet above. It landed gently on the ocean, sending waves rolling toward the shore. From it, a group of aliens stepped out. They were tall, pale, and wore robes covered in symbols. Korak stood at the front. He raised a hand. I come in peace, he said in perfect English. Agent Halberd stepped forward. We heard you were watching us. Korak looked at Megan and Liam. You are the ones who fed your people with the Zalthor. Megan nodded. I did. Korak studied her for a long moment. Then he said, You are either very brave or very foolish. Megan smiled. Maybe a little of both. Korak tilted his head. Your kind does not fear death? Liam shrugged. We fear hunger more. Laughter broke out among the humans. Even Korak allowed himself a small smile. Then he grew serious again. You have done something no species has dared. You have taken what was not yours. Megan frowned. We didn't ask for any of this. Korak nodded. No. But you accepted it. He looked out at the ocean. You have proven strength. But strength without wisdom leads to ruin. He turned back to them. We will watch you, learn from you. Then he added, and perhaps, learn to respect you. With that, he and his crew returned to their ship. Moments later, it rose into the sky and vanished. The fleet followed, and the sky was empty once more. Later that night, Megan and Liam sat by a campfire near the dock. The wind blew gently. The waves rolled in. Liam handed her a plate. Grilled Xalthor, last batch. Megan took a bite. Still tastes good, Liam chuckled. Guess we really messed things up. Megan looked at the stars above. Or maybe we just showed them who we are. Far away in deep space, the Thryn fleet drifted silently. Korak stood on the observation deck. His second-in-command approached. Will we return? Korak nodded slowly. Yes. He looked at Earth on the screen. Because they are not like the others, he smiled slightly. They are different and dangerous. The world changed, but not in the way most people expected. There was no war, no invasion, no glowing ships tearing through cities or alien armies landing with demands. Instead, there was something quieter, something slower. Respect. Across the galaxy, species that had never heard of Earth now whispered its name, some with fear, some with curiosity, and some with cautious admiration. On the Zilari capital world, the High Council met again. Korin, the elder who had watched humanity from afar, stood at the center of the chamber. His eyes were tired, but his mind was sharp. He looked around at the other leaders, warriors, scholars, diplomats, and finally spoke. We have underestimated them. A younger council member leaned forward. You mean the humans? Korin nodded. Yes. We thought they were primitive, weak, unimportant. He paused. But they killed a Xalthor. They ate it. And when we tried to stop them, they did not bow. Silence filled the room. Then another leader asked, Do you believe they are a threat? Korin looked at the image of Earth on the screen. I believe, he said slowly, that they are unpredictable. Another voice spoke from the back. Unpredictable can be more dangerous than strong. Korin agreed. We must watch them carefully, but even as the meeting ended, one young Zilari cadet lingered behind. She stared at the footage of Megan's restaurant. Of people laughing, eating, living, she muttered to herself, They're insane. But maybe that makes them dangerous enough to respect. Back on Earth, life went on. In Washington, D.C., the government passed new laws about handling alien materials. Scientists were given more funding. Military units were trained for possible future encounters. But the biggest change wasn't in politics. It was in culture. Across the country, new restaurants opened. Some served traditional food. Others offered something different. Xalthor meat. Megan's chain, the Xalthor Grill, expanded quickly. She opened locations in major cities: New York, Los Angeles, Chicago. Each one was packed. She became a minor celebrity, appearing on late-night shows and cooking segments. One host asked her, Do you ever worry about what you're doing? Megan smiled. Worry? Nah. I just cook what tastes good. The audience laughed. Behind the scenes, things were more complicated. The military still ran secret labs. Cloning efforts continued. Intelligence agencies tracked alien activity near Earth. But for the average person, life was normal, maybe even better. People talked about aliens like they talked about weather. Did you see the news? Another ship showed up near Mars. No way, was it friendly? Dunno, but they didn't shoot us, so that's a win. In Brookside, Liam still lived by the sea. His days were quieter now. He fished less and helped train new members of the Civilian Defense Unit more. He liked being useful. Sometimes Megan would visit after work. They'd sit on the porch, drink coffee, and watch the sunset. One evening, she handed him a plate. "Last batch," she said. Liam took a bite, chewed, nodded. "Still tastes like thunder." Megan laughed. "That's what they say online, too." She checked her phone. A video of someone trying Zalthor meat in Japan had gone viral. "Guess we really started something," she said. Liam looked out at the ocean. "Yeah, just didn't think it'd turn into this." Megan sat beside him. "What do you think's next?" He thought for a moment. "More visitors, more questions, maybe more fights." She nodded. "And if they come back angry?" Liam grinned. "Then we'll feed 'em." Megan snorted. "Not sure that'll work every time." "Hey," Liam said. "Food's a good start. If they don't like it, then we fight." Megan shook her head, smiling. "You're impossible." "And hungry," Liam added. They both laughed. Far out in the ocean, something stirred. Red eyes blinked open. Teeth gleamed under moonlight, and deep in space more watchers observed, waiting, watching, ready. In the years that followed, Earth entered a new era, not of peace, not of war, but of awareness. Other species came and went. Some stayed to trade. Others left in fear or anger. But none ignored humanity, because one thing had become clear: humans were not afraid. They had faced the unknown. They had fought it. They had eaten it. And now, they were part of the galactic stage, not as conquerors, not as victims, but as something else entirely. Something wild, something free, something dangerous, and above all, something hungry. Final scene. The camera pans across the stars. Earth floats below, blue and quiet. A small fishing boat drifts along the coast of Brookside. On board, Megan stands at the edge, tossing scraps into the water. Liam watches from the cabin, sipping coffee. A seagull lands nearby, eyeing the scraps. Suddenly, the water beneath them ripples, not from wind, from something bigger. Megan steps back. Liam sets down his cup. Under the surface, red eyes blink open, then close, waiting, watching. Ready? Fade to black. Roll credits.